Well, here I am again, ready or not. It's the Midnight Skeptic. And here is my t shirt. It was given to me by one of the guys at the Beat Museum in San Francisco. They're on Broadway just off of Columbus. And they are both fans and collectors of memorabilia of the Beat generation of the 50s and early 60s. And at the Phoenix Theater, with the help from Tom Gaffey, who's the manager of the Phoenix Theater, we put on a reading over a whole weekend of Jack Kerouac's On the Road. And it was relatively well attended. There was maybe about 60 or 70 people that came to listen to all of us taking turns reading. And it was a marathon reading, and high school students from here in Petaluma were involved in it. Casa Grande, Petaluma High, and we even had one from St. Vincent's High School here in Petaluma. And it came off really well. And the guys from the Beat Museum came on and put on a 15-minute slideshow about the museum and the Beat generation. All of the luminaries of the Beat poetry scene, Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg, and there were a few older people that had taken part in it. And the guys at the Beat Museum gave me this t-shirt. Anyway, today is Friday. I'm getting this recorded a little bit later than I usually do. It's the 8th of March. And last night was the State of the Union. And I'll talk about that briefly coming up. And Super Tuesday is come and gone. And finally, all of the wheat has been separated from the chaff, and it's going to be the orange sociopathic bloat bag versus Joe Biden again. Okay, let's see. Here's my notes. I was intending to record this on Wednesday the 6th, but didn't do it. On Super Tuesday is over. Yay! The orange sociopathic bloat bag has been and will be the GOP nominee for the 2024 presidential election, barring an unforeseen occurrence. And here's the play-in music for this episode of The Midnight Skeptic. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 FM and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. Oh, I am woke. We should all be woke. And that term, woke, is finally being kind of given up by the hate-mongering Republicans and GOP and MAGA heads. The purpose of the Midnight Skeptic show every Sunday night at 9 p.m. and also on YouTube, which it will be as soon as I download this video, is to rid this country of all GOP MAGA heads and doing it one broadcast at a time. It's my little effort. I don't know how much I'm contributing to it, but if this country can rid itself of Republicans, so much the better. And let the responsible Republicans, thinking Republicans, like the Lincoln Project, for instance, and the Never Trumpers, okay, let them form a new party to replace the MAGA head GOP. You know, if they want to call it Republicans 2.0, so be it. Whatever they want to call it, as a opposition party to the Democrats. Now, they'll never be as progressive as the Democrats, and I consider myself to be an uber lefty. This new party, whatever it ends up being, will never be as lefty as I am. I am borderline socialist. I am like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You know, they're right in my wheelhouse. Okay, got to do my shout-outs. Okay, I'm going to start off every show from now until the foreseeable future by mentioning Mickey Huff and his Project Censored partners, which is Nolan Higdon and Andy Lee Roth. They're all professors at different colleges. Mickey is a history professor, and I think he only teaches 1 or 2 classes at Diablo Valley College, and he commutes down from where he and his wife and his children are living. I'm not sure of the town, but it's near Sacramento, so he has a little bit of a commute. But every year they publish a book called The State of the Free Press, you know, this year, 2024. And they cover stories that the mainstream press has not sufficiently covered or covered in a wrong way, according to Mickey Huff and his Project Censored guys. Okay, John Crowley at the Aquas Cafe. He has succeeded in creating a community here in Petaluma, kind of centered around the Aquas Cafe, and various nonprofits and art collectives meet there periodically. The last thing was on the 29th of last month. Okay, the leap month. It was Drinks with Shrinks, and it wasn't held at the Aquas Cafe. It was held at an art makers collective in a different address here in Petaluma, and they were addressed by a therapist named Disney. Oh, I forget his first name, but he gave a lecture and explained his style of therapy. And I'm not sure how well attended it was, but if it's anything like the Drinks with Shrinks that are held at the Aquas Cafe, there's probably 20 or so local therapists. Okay. And Tom Gaffey, the aforementioned manager of the Phoenix Theater, which is a hangout for alternative teens. And he's sort of the kindly uncle and godfather to them all, helps them when they need help, talks to them when they need somebody to talk to. That's what Tom Gaffey does, and he should be appreciated for that. And Rob Tomaszewski, I'm going to be mentioning him from now on because he's the station manager at KPCA FM 103.3 FM, and Nariman, and Art Kuznets, and Rabbi Ted Feldman, who was, he's retired now, And he was the rabbi that I met and kind of bonded with at the B'nai Israel temple here in Petaluma. And he calls me his favorite pagan, which, he knows I'm not religious. And I never said to him that I was rather anti religious. I just didn't say that, but I actually am. And it's my belief that this world would be better off if all religion just disappeared into the ether. Okay? All religions, not just Christianity, although I'm beginning to think that fundamentalist evangelical Christians are the worst of the worst as far as religions doing harm to the people of this planet. Okay. All right, continuing with my shout outs. Okay. John Crowley, Tom Gaffey, Phoenix, Tim Conrad, Sonora High, class of 61, and photographer extraordinaire, Tom and Nancy Throw, Kevin and Lori, Dave and Rosita Takach in Sacramento, Rich and Kathy Berger in Sebastopol, and Rich, thanks for calling. I'm looking forward to our lunch with a brew on Tuesday of next week. Dennis and Megan down in Tiburon. Dennis, I'll be seeing you in about 2 hours or so. It's 2:30 now, and Dennis is an IT guy down at the Miller Creek School District, and is my tech guy savior that I haven't called him lately. I haven't needed to, but when something goes wrong, and I am not high tech at all, I'm not even low tech, but I call him and he fixes whatever's wrong remotely. So thank you, Dennis. And okay, Yvonne and Rich in San Francisco, Stan and Kathy down in Pacific, Aunt Jackie and her 2 daughters, Samantha and Melanie, and my brother Brandon and his wife Mina, their daughter Andrea, who is my niece, is in the Santan Valley of Arizona area, and she's married to Tim, retired Marine, booyah, and their 3 little boys, the 3 little terrorists, as they like to call them. I didn't call them that. They made up that term. Okay. And also in Arizona, down on the southwest corner, there's a town called Patagonia. I have no idea how big it is. It's not very big, I would imagine. But Karina Hilliard, as far as I know, is their animal control officer who, if you find a snake in your house somewhere, call her. She's the snake lady. Snake and spiders. She isn't bothered by any of that stuff at all. And I met her at the Skeptics conference about 4 or 5 years ago down in Las Vegas. Okay. In Arkansas, Shannon Reed, she's in real estate now. She was a massage therapist up here in Petaluma at the Fairmont Spa. And she moved to Arkansas with her little boy, who's not so little anymore. But to make ends meet, she is doing massage therapy there in Arkansas. And all the way down to Florida, Nelson and Alice Slidell. And Nelson, I'm going to call you, you remember, on a telephone, because I haven't heard from you lately. I hope you're doing okay. And Nelson is a retired United States Public Health Service officer who has sent me on occasion, science-y things to say on my show, which I did. And he is also not a fan of Joseph Ladapo, the quack doctor that Ron DeSantis appointed to be, what's his title? Surgeon General of Florida. Oh, boy. Okay, and also in Florida, Amelia Beamer, who is an editor, and she helps budding writers be better writers. And you can see her on YouTube. Look up Locus Magazine, Locus, and that's the magazine of science fiction, fantasy, and horror. That magazine reviews books that are coming out soon, and then she tells you on YouTube what the titles and authors are and what they're generally about. So check her out on YouTube. And then Dr. Dave in Raleigh, Durham, but he's in Chicago right now. He's the world's greatest pulmonary doctor, and he's retired. I think SmithGlaxoKline is the last medical outfit that he worked for. He arranged for studies to be done on newly emerging drugs and clinical trials. That's what he did for GlaxoSmithKline. But he's in the art world now. He's an artiste. Go on to his website, Dave Rubin Painting. I think it's .com, I think, and see what he's all about. He has a very interesting take on reality. Okay, and then the Sonora Crowd, Robert Finnegan, Bob and Sandy Fisher, and their two children, Brad and Martha, and Darrell Larson, our Bronco riding high school buddy, Judy May, Kathy Francis, Lynn Quayle, John Gleason, and his two daughters, Tiffany and Jennifer. And then all the way down to Mexico City, another one of our classmates, Rosie Lopez Negrete. Okay, so shout outs and intro all done. So here we go to the meat of the show. Okay, and I've promised my thousands and thousands of listeners that I would always start with good news. And, well, here it is. The first over-the-counter birth control pill is here. It's called Opill, Opill. It's made by the Irish pharmaceutical company Perrigo, Perrigo. And it's being shipped this week to the U.S. And it requires no prescriptions. The U.S. FDA, Food and Drug Administration, approved Opill last summer. And it's $19.99, $20 for a 1 month's supply. I'm sure that this upsets the evangelical conservative Christians who want to regulate women's health and bodies. I'm sure they're all fulminating about, oh, Pastor so-and-so, what do we do about this? We've got to stop this. Women can enjoy sex without worrying about getting pregnant. Oh, that's not what God wants. Okay, excuse me, I got a sip here. This is orange juice, by the way. Okay. The right-wing Christian evangelical fundamentalists think that the use of contraceptives violate God's command to, quote unquote, be fruitful and multiply. Missouri Republicans are trying to outlaw Plan B emergency contraceptives as we speak. There's a bill pending in their right-wing controlled legislature. Trying to outlaw Plan B emergency contraceptives and IUD devices. Human personhood bills are now all the rage in GOP-controlled states. Now, what is personhood? It means that life, human life, begins at implantation of a spermie into a female egg. And in Alabama, the Supreme Court said in their infinite wisdom, I'm being sarcastic, that a fertilized egg is the equivalent of a child, a living, actually birthed child or a teenage high school kid. They all have the same rights according to the Alabama Supreme Court, and especially the Supreme Court justice who wrote this. He said the death of a fertilized egg is against the will of Almighty God. Okay, so enough of that. It's all about control of women, which is what the GOP conservative Republicans want. Okay. Okay, new topic. Indiana's HB 2073 would allow public school districts to hire chaplains to provide services and programs for students. I assume both in grammar school and high school. And HB, House Bill 1137, would require, quote unquote, release time from class to attend off-campus religious instruction. Whatever happened to the separation of church and state, which conservative Christians deny exists? They would want Christian fundamentalism to be part of our federal government if it were up to them. Let's make sure it never is up to them. We can do that by just voting out all Republican politicians that are running for some office. Just make it a clean sweep. This 2024 election coming up in November, just vote out all Republicans. Okay, I'm off my notes. HB, House Bill in Indiana, 1137 would release time, okay, religious instruction, and would allow for the hiring of chaplains with no counseling credits, meaning studying some psychology or counseling class in college. They don't need that, according to Republicans. No counseling credits or experience. And what are these services or programs that these chaplains would, quote unquote, help students with? I imagine that prayer would be a big part of it. Okay, I'm just checking how long I've been doing this. Okay. Okay, this is a new topic. Okay, real science, unbiased science, has no place in it for social justice, dogmatism, or identitarianism. Okay, now those things are fine, and they're very progressive ideas. Social justice, of course, um, identitarianism, meaning who you identify yourself as, should be respected. Whether it's a race or an ethnicity or a sexual orientation or a sexual identity or any of that, that's great, except that scientific papers do not need to have within them messages about who wrote the scientific paper or who did the research. And a little bit of identitarianism is beginning to creep into scientific papers that are submitted to journals for peer review. That has no place. Science is science and should be unbiased, and identitarianism should not be a factor into scientific outcomes. 2 + 2 = 4, no matter who you are, no matter what your identity is. Race, ethnicity, gender, and sexuality have no place. And in papers, scientific papers, submitted to journals, should not have a positionality statement included in it. Just no. It should not have these positionality statements in any scientific journals. Peer reviewing of these papers is quite sufficient. Thank you very much. And even then, some peers misjudge some papers that are submitted to the journals for publication. It happens enough that some peers who review these things shouldn't have been doing it. They're influenced by, I don't know, big pharma or the oil or big fossil fuel industries. There is no place for that either in peer-reviewed journals. Okay. Okay. On to a new topic. On last week's show, I gave kind of a history lesson of what the area of Palestine was in the Ottoman Empire era and how it came to be in the state of conflict that it is now. Okay, and I talked on about that and did not have time to take up Zionism. Okay, now, I'm going to rectify that now. Okay, on last week's show, I went into the history of the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire after World War I and the beginnings of Jewish immigration to the area of Palestine and the British mandate that was given to Britain to govern and, teach the Arabs how to be voters, I guess. It was kind of a patronizing event. It was well, it shouldn't have been done, but the League of Nations, in its infinite wisdom, quote unquote, gave England a mandate over the area of Palestine and what was then called Transjordan. And they gave the French, oh boy, a mandate over Lebanon and Syria. Okay. So Europeans who know everything can pass this knowledge along to the Arabs over there. Okay. I'm off my notes riffing. Okay, a variety of Jewish organizations known as Hovevei. Okay, I'll spell that for you. Capital Hovevei. Hovevei Zion, which translates from Hebrew as lovers of Zion. Okay, these groups founded roughly about 20 Jewish populated towns in the area that's Palestine now, called Yishuv, capital Yishuv. It's just a term, so I don't know if you need to have the Y capitalized. Yishuv. That means settlement. Old Yishuv settlements refers to Jewish settlements prior to Zionism. Now, Zionism as an idea, as a movement, is not that old. It was in the late 19th century, meaning 1880, 1890. Okay, there were Jewish settlements or yeshuvs before Zionism came to pass. New yeshuv settlements were immigrants who arrived during the first Aliyah. This one is capitalized. First, capital ALIYAH, Aliyah, a wave of immigrants from 1880 to 1903 from Eastern Europe and Yemen. The Jewish population in 1903 was roughly about 55,000. 1903, the Ottoman Empire still controlled that, and the reliability of their census leaves a lot to be desired, but roughly about 55,000 Jews in the area called Palestine, and some in Lebanon, and some in what is now Syria. Okay, the second Aliyah was from 1904 to 1914, right before the outbreak of World War I. About 40,000 immigrants, Jewish immigrants, arrived mainly from Russia. There were terrible pogroms going on over in Russia about this time. This had 1914, the Russian Revolution had not yet started, but a year or two later, the Russian Revolution was in full swing. I'm not sure of my Russian history whether Tsar Nicholas approved of these pogroms, but they happened, and which caused a new wave of Jewish immigrants to Palestine between 1904 to 1914. At this time, according to the Ottoman census, inaccurate at best, there were about 430,000 Muslims in the area of what's now Palestine and southern Lebanon and parts of Syria. Okay, so there was a huge discrepancy in the demographics between Muslims and Jewish, and there was a sizable, 50,000 or so Christian settlements in that area as well. So, as of now, the worldview of the ultra Orthodox Jewish groups is that the Jews are not to return collectively to the land of Israel by physical force, nor were the Jewish people, quote unquote, to rebel against the nations of the world. And that is from the Torah. Okay. And I'm not sure of which book or who wrote this, but it is taken as a admonishment to not force yourselves into an area, whether or not it's among other nations of the world. I assume they include the Islamic peoples. The Jewish people were to wait for the, are you ready for this? Heavenly, complete, miraculous, supernatural, and meta-historical redemption that is distinct from human endeavors. Okay, now I'm talking here about the ultra-Orthodox Jewish. They are, by and large, anti-Zionist, okay? Zionism claims that God promised the land to Abraham and his descendants, plus the Jewish people settled and developed, and the nations of the earth granted political sovereignty in Palestine. I think they're talking about the 1948 founding of the State of Israel. And beyond that, the Palestine was the land of all Palestine, including the West Bank and, for a while, the Sinai Peninsula. All these lands were captured in war. Okay, let me reiterate that. Zionists and hyper pro-Israel believers amongst the people that are now in Palestine, this is their claim, that God promised the land to the descendants of Abraham. And the phrase, the Jordan to the sea, comes to mind. Now, the Palestinian people, the more, radical of them, like Hamas, believe that from the Jordan to the Mediterranean should be all Islamic Arab country. Okay, so there is a conflict right there between militant Israelis and militant Palestinians, meaning Hamas. Okay, here is just my opinion. I agree that Hamas is a terrorist organization, as witnessed by what happened on October 7th. It was just terrible. Now, what the Israeli Defense Force is doing now, the IDF, is, how should I term it, an overreaction? bombing more than is necessary. I understand Israel's desire to rid the area of Hamas. Okay, but the death of so many non-Hamas Palestinians and their children is just horrible. And I am in favor not just of a two-state solution, but a three-state solution. One state, Israel. The second state, the West Bank. You can call it Palestine if you want. The third state is just Gaza. It would be easier to rid Gaza of Hamas than it would be to rid the West Bank of other political groups, political Palestinian groups. Now, the radical Jewish settlers that are attempting to overtake the West Bank with their expanding settlements should not be allowed to do that. They should be forcibly, if necessary, moved back into the borders, the pre-76 borders of Israel. Okay? And that's probably an unpopular opinion. Now, Hamas, may I remind my viewers and listeners, people claim, or pro-Palestinian people claim, that Hamas was elected. Well, they didn't have a majority of the votes in 1996 when the election was held. They didn't have a majority of the votes. They had a plurality. There were a lot of other political groups that were involved with this election. And, okay, enough of that. Slightly new topic. This is about protesting in this country, pro-Palestinian protests. The far left pro-Palestinian protesters pivot quickly from believe women, which I do. When a woman comes forward with a claim of a rape or sexual harassment or whatever, in my opinion, 98% of the time, they're not making it up. The guys who did it should be punished legally. And the believe women trope is fine as far as I'm concerned. However, when they accuse men of rape, they should be believed. Okay, now, why aren't Jewish women believed in the same way? The protesters here in this country, the pro-Palestinian protesters, believe Hamas when they deny that, oh, our fighters would never do that. They didn't do that. They didn't behead little kids and women. They didn't rape any women. It's against the Quran. Okay, that's bullshit. They did it. And they took their own pictures of them doing it, some of which on their little cell phones were captured by, finally, when the IDF fighters came in. Some of these films were captured. So Hamas did it. And if we get rid of Hamas in Gaza, so much the better. Okay. Okay, another sip of orange juice. Okay, the 45 minutes has gone by already. All right. Where does the time go when you're having fun? Onward. Let's see. I missed something. Oh, good news. Three intelligent design, quote unquote, bills die in Oklahoma legislature. They expired because they didn't meet the February 29th deadline. Oklahoma Senate Bill 1871 would have required any public or charter school teacher who teaches evolution, for instance, in a science class, to provide instruction to students on the concepts of creationism. What other concepts are there except God did it? All right. And or intelligent design. That's a term that Christians use to make it sound more acceptable. House Bill 3122 and House Bill 3543, which is the Freedom of Religious Expression Act. Okay. Also died. It also died. So teachers don't have to give equal time to God did it with a snap of his fingers. Okay. New topic. The Rainbow Youth Project in Oklahoma has received almost 1,100 calls on its suicide prevention hotline since Next Benedict's death on February 8th. And guess who is protesting in front of the high school where Next Benedict went? If you guessed the Westboro Baptist Church of Topeka, Oklahoma, you would be right. Okay, the Westboro Baptist Church of Topeka, Oklahoma sent congregant. No, it's Topeka, Kansas. Yeah, it's not Topeka, Kansas. Okay, sent congregants to demonstrate against LGBTQ people. A total of 7. That's siete in Spanish. Total of 7 showed up, according to KJRH News of Tulsa, Oklahoma. About 100 pro-LGBTQ protesters showed up at the 3,000 student Owasso High School, where Next Benedict went. And she went and was bullied incessantly by other students who undoubtedly think they're doing the Christian thing. Lance Preston, who was the founder of Rainbow Youth Project and the Parasol Patrol, which was founded in 1989. Oh, wait a second. Oh, when I thought I wrote that down. In the 1990s, at some point, the Parasol Patrol was founded in Colorado. Geez, I thought I wrote her name down. Oh, Pasha Ripley. She was the co-founder of the Parasol Patrol. Now, what they do is where drag readings, mainly in libraries, sometimes coffee shops, um, are doing their thing, reading to kids. And the Parasol Patrol helps shield parents and their kids with their rainbow colored parasols that are going in to hear the readings from the drag performers. Okay, well, they came out to this protest at Owasso High School to kind of protect the kids from being seen by this mob of 7 congregants from the Westboro Baptist Church. Okay? So these 2 pro LGBTQ organizations were there, and there's roughly about 100 of them plus their supporters. Okay. Good and bad news. Sheher Bano, Sheher, capital Bano, that's her last name, an assistant superintendent of police in Lahore, Pakistan, risked her life to rescue a woman after Arabic calligraphy on her dress was mistaken for verses from the Quran. A furious mob of religious nuts accused the woman of blasphemy. Blasphemy, a real issue in Muslim-majority Pakistan, often leads to mob lynchings, just like God intended, or Allah intended. I've often said on my show that religion causes violence and hate all over the world. I think I mentioned it at the start of the show. I stand by that. Religion is the cause of violence, hate, and wars all over the world, and has been since the invention of religion. And on my web page, my Facebook page, I posted a statement from Mark Twain, who said, religion started when the first con man met the first fool, and which is great. I stand by that statement. Okay? Let's see. Good news. 9 agencies of the Biden administration now have a new rule that improves religious freedom of people receiving benefits from the faith-based social services that get money from the federal government. Providers cannot withhold help based on the beneficiary's faith affiliation. Okay, that's a call coming in from Kaiser. Hopefully they'll leave a message and I'll call them back. Okay, faith-based providers of social services cannot require participation in any religious activity. The fact that such a rule is needed testifies to Okay. The fact that such a rule is needed testifies to what power-hungry, stop-at-nothing outfits religious groups are. Here's some food, starving persons, but only if you accept Jesus as your savior. God in his heavenly domain is chuckling. Oh boy, I'm going to have to play my play out music. And just, I was going to talk about, okay, um, President Joe Biden, the incumbent, versus the orange sociopathic bloat bag this coming November in 2024. I'm going to have to talk about this next week, okay? So here's my play out music. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. Okay, that's it for this week. I'll see you all again and rant at you all next week. But very importantly, for those cat owners out there, well, actually, that's a wrong word. Nobody owns a cat. Cats choose to allow you to feed them and pet them when they feel like it, okay? I like cats. I like dogs too, but I don't want to own one. But sip some nice red wine, pet your cats, and I will see you all next week.